All right, so this is part two of the Cleveland Focus Group. It's 6:39 p.m. now, and we will start back up on the fourth question. All right, so the next question is, what motivated you to keep going when staying in school became difficult? Think of a specific instance and tell us a story.
I think what motivated me the most was because I have three siblings. They all have a college degree. I hadn't completed mine. And like I had said before, I had my daughters who had completed their undergrad. And so that motivated me a lot because I felt like I was the outlier. um, and then when things got bad, I think what really motivated me was just my family. I had a lot of support from my spouse and my children, and just them saying you can do this, and me not wanting to let them down. Um, I think what kept me going was, because I didn't want to be that failure, or to have to look at my kids and say, I expect you to do it, but I can't or I won't.
Okay. Um, in particular, were there any specific moments or times you can think of where you had needed to activate that support system?
A lot of times, it seemed like once I started school, if it could happen, it happened. At one point, my husband told me I had to hurry up and finish because it seemed as if every semester when I was doing finals, there was a family member that passed away. Um, so there were a lot of things that happened while I was doing my undergrad. Um, my father passed away. My sister was diagnosed with brain cancer. So there were a lot of things, obstacles that was more or less like mentally challenging than anything for me. And each time as something would happen within the family, it was always a family member, like I said. My sister, who was very weak from the chemo fighting the brain cancer, would look at me and tell me, "You got this. You're not going to give up." And I think that's just probably what carried me through the whole thing. Just her telling me, "No, you are going to finish." I mean, not letting her down. Like,
That's great. Thank you.
Um, what motivated me to keep going? I would say at that time, the most difficult semester for me was my last before graduating, and I was taking 18 credit hours of all finance courses and working at the City of Cleveland Division of Taxation. So I was in between working at the city and going to school at Cleveland State. And there were days where I was up 24 hours straight. And I know that's not healthy.
I remember that.
Yeah. I know that's not healthy, but my mom is what motivated me to keep going because I'm the oldest of 7 children. And my mom, she went through a lot as far as poverty. We were homeless at one point in between Cleveland and Akron. So I would transfer to like 4 or 5 different high schools, I think, at that time. It's a blur because I kept being moved from shelter to shelter. So for my mom to be able to stay strong with all of that because my dad left, she motivated me and let me know that even though what happened, she didn't go through like a nervous breakdown. She could have like went through she could have turned to a lot of things, and we could have went to foster care. Anything could have happened to us at that time, and I always think of that time like, man, I don't even know how she made it through to keep us all together and say it's going to be okay. So she motivated me because of the things that we went through all together, and the fact that all of her children graduated from high school. They all attended not just CSU, but also Kent State as well. I mean, some people probably would look at that and say, you guys shouldn't have even made it that far, but we did. And she was able to get a house and able to just settle at a particular place for us so that we can be successful at that time. And she's the one that motivated me the most, because I keep thinking about what she said to me, which is, I don't know if it's positive or negative, but she said, don't be like me. Like she said, don't, rely on a man. You may think everything's going to be, but don't rely on a guy.
No offense.
Think everything is going to, he's going to support you in all of this, because look at what happened to me. Mm-hmm. And that's when I kind of I told her, like, I don't want to think of it that way, but I understand where she was coming from, saying, like, this, what I went through should motivate you to do better for yourself. So she definitely was the number one person that motivated me all throughout the stuff that I was going through in my last semester.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. My biggest motivator, to be blunt, was I did not want to be broke. I knew that I was accruing debt. I was nervous if I left school that I would not go back, and now I'd have this debt and I wouldn't have the job opportunities provided to me with a college degree while having to pay off this debt. On top of that, I only had stable housing when I was in college. If I left college, I wouldn't have anywhere to go. I mean, even for summer breaks, I didn't have anywhere to go. So, I mean, that was my housing. And then, let's see what else motivated me. I will say at Kent, I felt very much like I was not the type of student that they wanted, and I will admit that pushed me harder. I wanted to be the best student just to shove in their face, I do belong here. And that's why I did the double major in 4 years, and I was top of my class. Basically, I wanted to prove to everyone that I could do it, and on top of that, and I know this is illegal, I got, all these loans. I was supporting both my parents. I mean, my mom was still homeless, but I was able to feed her. I was able to feed my dad. Like, I got an RA job, so I got the food stipend. And so, like, that completely went to my parents, and I would just find food on my own because I worked in catering, too, while I was doing that. So I was living off that. Realistically, college was not just supporting me. They were supporting my family. So.
Sure. I'm curious, ask a clarifying question, too, on the in feeling unwanted at Kent. Was there anything in particular that fed that notion, any interactions or otherwise?
So one of the issues I had is, I was raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. They have the lowest rate of college attendance. They are also the #1 for poverty. Women in general don't really get to go to college. If they do, they can go to a local community college if they have approval from the elders. When I was trying to be an RA at Kent, quite frankly, and I will say the program has changed. I complained to the right people, and this no longer happens, but basically, under the guise of a leadership course, they were asking questions to discriminate against you. They're asking questions about your financial background. They're asking questions about your religious background. And that was held against me when it came time to be hired as an RA. I was told I was too different, and they were worried I was going to preach to other students. Right. That was my breaking point where I really wanted to leave school. And they have spiritual leaders on campus. There's no Jehovah's Witnesses represented on that campus. I was the only one on campus. So I felt very unwanted there. That was very tough. And I will say, even when I got the RA job, there were horrible things that happened to me that were very not okay over the religious issue. So.
And then you, if I'm understanding, use that to fuel your...
That gave me the rage fuel I needed to really accomplish a lot. And that was part of the paralegal choice.
Okay.
So
that motivated you in a program.
Right.
Did you already have the motivation? I know you mentioned earlier about the one of the motivations for joining the paralegal program was your parents, but did that predate this decision? Was it the parents first, or was it this first?
With the parents, I knew I wanted to do something where I could either help them, like with finance or with legal issues. I was still an undeclared major my freshman year. After that, I declared myself as a paralegal and psych major. Okay.
Thank you. And as a follow-up too, I'm curious, did you have a specific support network in place, or was it then also your parents?
My parents were actually so opposed to me being